If you guys have been living under a rock, the ETH merge happens this week. There have been bulls, bears, and even foldable chairs. But what does this mean by ETH in the short to mid term, and even the long term? Well, in today's video, I'm going to go over the ETH2 and the 5 different stages, as well as what this means short term for Ethereum price action after the merge. And of course, the markets don't always act as expected. Can you guys guess when the Alonzo hard fork happened for Cardano? You know, the smart contracts? Oh yeah, it happened at the Pico top of around $3.10. We are down now over 85%. There will be more on that later, so stay tuned. So, Ethereum merge is coming up. Well, if you guys didn't know, there's 5 different stages involved before ETH becomes ETH 2.0. And I'll go over those later in this video. These are going to offer different improvements until the final stage of ETH, which is, well, 2.0. Right now, a lot of the markets are saying, hey, ETH is going to be uber bullish, it's going to be deflationary, it's going to be the best thing in the world. And some market participants even think the transaction speeds are going to be faster and the transaction fees are going to be lower, which is not the case after the merge. As you guys can see here, Bitcoin today is up 2.67% compared to ETH, which is actually down almost 3% today. Of course, it rallied over the weekend, but this is showing signs that people are starting to hedge either into stablecoins or something that is a little less volatile, which would be Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying this is the only sign, but this is just something to note, especially for today. And we're also going to have CPI numbers tomorrow. This adds additional volatility to the markets as well as the crypto market. Now, going back to ETH and ETH 2.0, many are speculating this upgrade going from proof of work to proof of stake will make the ETH transactions faster and cheaper, but this is not the case. So what does the merge mean for Ethereum? There are 5 different stages involved from ETH transitioning from its current form into its evolved form, which is ETH 2.0. The merge, this happens this week. ETH is moving from proof of stake and is no longer proof of work. From a user's perspective, there are no noticeable changes. I wrote a Substack article on this, but this is kind of an image that displays what's happening. We're moving from proof of work all the way to proof of stake and transitioning. Currently right now, there's 2 separate chains running right now. You have the Beacon chain and you have the proof of work chain. The Beacon chain is involved with staking. Like you have the liquid stake forms of Lido, and you also can lock it up into the actual ETH contract. But currently this isn't doing any transactions, any DeFi, any NFTs. It's just sitting in a locked contract as a promissory note to get some of the ETH 2.0 tokens. And the merge, which happens this week, this little sheep looking thing, actually it's a koala, or no, it's a panda. Nah, it's definitely a pig. It's going from proof of work to proof of stake. And there's not going to be 2 different chains. Yes, there is a chance that there is a fork, but it's transitioning to proof of stake. This is being done because there was consensus in the network that we're going to have ETH become a proof of stake network. So after the merge, which the second step is the one that you're probably looking for, is sharding. Sharding, this is when Ethereum upgrades to, well, sharding. This is the process of splitting a database horizontally to spread the load. This allows for faster transaction times and lower gas fees and further scalability. Let me show you what this would look like. Here's an image so you guys can see what it would look like, but think of this in your mind. What is faster? 1 cash register at one store checking people out, or 10 cash registers. Each shard or cash register is able to process its own transactions and come up with its own hash and create consensus onto the Beacon chain. And currently we have other L2s that offer a similar process. This is on Arbitrum and Optimism. They process their own transactions and display that single block onto the main Ethereum chain. And this sharding upgrade isn't set to happen until 2023. This is the one that lowers gas fees as well as speeds up transaction time. The next stage is the Verge. This involves Verkle trees, not Merkle trees, but Verkle trees. The main difference between a Merkle tree and a Verkle tree is that the children don't need to verify the proof. Now, what are these so-called children? Well, this H thing and this other green H thing, the ones at the very top of the tree, those are called the children. The ones below it are the different branches. and are the transactions that are hashed in order to get that child. When the two children are hashed, they make the Merkle root. So if you wanted to make the Merkle tree wider, you would need to add additional children under each node. These would then need to be hashed for the Merkle proof, which then adds more data to the proof. So the TLDR is that Merkle trees are less data intensive and it's less data storage on the blockchain. This is important to understand, especially for the decentralization aspect. Most people's computers run at about a terabyte, maybe a half a terabyte of hard drive space. And if these blockchains are loaded with data, it's hard to download them, especially if they have too much data to download. A user wouldn't be able to run a node from their laptop. Now the next phase is the purge. This is more so adding to further scalability. Like I mentioned to you, Merkle trees, they do reduce the data that's stored on chain. However, over time, as you keep storing more and more transactions, eventually that chain is going to be burdened with data. So the TLDR is that the data will be pruned after 1 year. This is due to the EIP 4444. The main reason behind this improvement proposal is that in order to validate new blocks, this isn't really needed. It's really only needed for a full sync of the chain. Example of this would be a candy bar from the store. The data would be the different farmers harvesting all the materials that go into that candy bar. This could be cacao beans, this could be cane sugar, this could be peanuts, you name it. And then the factory ordering those products, getting them shipped, and then taking them into the factory and developing the candy bar, ordering from other factories that develop the packing materials, the packages, etc. I don't need all that data. All I need is, hey, I got candy bar, I got dollar, here's dollar for candy bar, thanks. All that history on the back end or all that data, that is not needed for the chain to function. Now, of course, if I wanted to know where my candy bar came from, well, then you would need that data. So the TLDR on this is not having the chain being burdened with storing all the data for other validators to run the transactions. And the last phase is the splurge. This just involves a couple of miscellaneous upgrades to the Ethereum network that basically just polish it out and make it look nice. So now that you guys get a little history on Ethereum and what the roadmap looks like for ETH going forward, let's go and give you guys a couple of case studies of what upgrades typically mean for a network. This is Cardano. Can you guys guess when its smart contract upgrade of Alonzo occurred? Well, I hate to break it to you. It was literally the Pico top. It was around $3.10. And as you can see, it's literally down about 85% now. So this was Pico top and we're here now. That was a massive upgrade, right? Well, not so much. So it was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Now, here's a second case study. This is Avalanche. Do you guys remember that thing called subnets? They were going to scale Avalanche and it was going to be the next best thing. Well, after BTC nuked, of course it wasn't at its peak all-time highs, but BTC took a nice nuke around this time and we came to here. However, Avalanche rallied from around the $40 mark to a little over $100. And the reason for the rally was into subnets. When the subnets were finally deployed, with Krabata getting their own chain, DFK getting their own chain, and a couple of other subnets rolling out, Avalanche started going down. And currently it's down about 80%. It was also a buy the rumor, sell the news event. There are several other protocols I can give you examples of to show you that most network upgrades, almost all of the time, are a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And the main reason for this is that when the news comes out, there's no additional buyer to buy because most people have consensus that this is going to be bullish. So who is the next buyer? In summary, I'm bullish Ethereum long term, but I feel this is going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. For several reasons I explained in a Substack article, but even if everything ships perfectly and this is what is expected, who else is there to buy it? Now, of course, there are going to be some incremental buyers, but at that point in time, the news is out. What other news, what other bullish catalysts will there be for ETH? Now, if someone's like, hey, this institution is accumulating trillions and trillions of dollars of Ethereum, well, of course, that's a bullish catalyst, but that's the next buyer. So this is something to keep in mind. Now, another reason is it's not as expected. Let's say the market's thinking, oh, we're going to have faster transaction times, lower gas fees, and that doesn't happen. And as you can see here on the main Ethereum website, it says transactions will be noticeably faster after the merge. False. The merge will reduce gas fees. False. So even though they display that, the market still correlates network upgrade with something that's going to be better, faster, cheaper. Well, the merge is an upgrade, but it's just laying the infrastructure for the other upgrades to be made, which are going to be later in 2023. And of course, there are other errors that can happen. There could be other delays, as well as future upgrades that are pushed back that can also cause bearish action for Ethereum. In general, what I'm trying to point out is that most of the market is expecting this to work out. So if it meets expectations, that's not bullish. If it fails expectations, that's bearish. Probabilities are weighing against in this situation. Now, again, guys, this is short term. I'm extremely bullish on Ethereum, especially for the long term, but I'm just trying to put out the bearish case for Ethereum so you guys can understand both sides of the argument. You also have to factor in that when this merge occurs, if there are issues on any DeFi protocols or is a cascading liquidation event because some tokens may be off peg or something's not working properly, well, then there can be a cascading liquidation event. And also market makers can see the market moves. So if everyone is levered up long, that's easy pickings for a market maker to say, I'm just going to short everything and liquidate a bunch of longs. And the opposite is true. And then lastly, you have macroeconomic conditions. This is just something to keep in mind in general. The markets are not looking so saucy right now. But hey, that's what happens when you just print money into an oblivion and just see what happens. So I want to recap. This is short term. I'm bullish ETH on the long term. I still hold Ethereum now, and I think it will do well. Some ways you can play this is you can profit with the volatility with straddles on Dopex, or you can simply sit there and do nothing. You can also hedge your positions using options. So if you're long Ethereum, you can buy some puts against ETH that are shorting the position. That way, just in case Ethereum goes down, you can profit on it. But if it does go up, using options allows you to cap your downside because the most you can ever lose is, well, the cost of the option. Now, another thing you can do is if there is a cascading liquidation or a dip, you can use this as a lower average ETH entry or average buy-in cost. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did and you guys like this type of content, make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe to the channel. That way you guys are staying up to date in the markets. If you guys want to see what I'm doing in the market, there's a Discord link in the description below. You guys can join that. That's through Patreon. But in the comments below, tell me what you guys want to see more of, what type of videos, what type of content, and I will be happy to get it out there for you guys. Let's go and hit you guys with a wisdom one-liner. This is going to be Proverbs chapter 12, verses 24. Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. Don't be lazy, man. Get off them video games and get working. Peace.